Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Climate and Infrastructure Committee for June 12th, 2025. I'm Katie Cashman. I'm the chair of this committee. Before we call the meeting to order, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all the speakers and members and staff that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation, and this includes real-time captioning, so we ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify quorum.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Osman is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski is absent. Chair Cashman.
Present.
There are 4 members present.
All right, let the record reflect that we have a quorum and that we've been joined by Councilmember Osman. Welcome. So we'll start with the consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Item 1 is a public sewer easement transfer from the city to the Met Council. Item 2 is accepting and executing lead service line replacement project orders. Item 3 is a variance request for Lake Harriet Parkway from Roseway Road to 2nd Street West related to road width. Item 4 is accepting the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's local climate action implementation grant for the As You Go Minneapolis program. Item 5 is a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County for the reconstruction of Franklin Avenue from Lyndale to Chicago. Item 6 is establishing a prioritized bridge replacement list. And item 7 is setting a public hearing for June 26th to consider the ordinance amending provisions related to concerts at the Upper Harbor Community Performing Arts Center. Is there any discussion on items 1 through 7 or anything that folks would like to pull for further discussion? I'll just make a couple of comments here. It's always very exciting to be accepting grants, so I want to thank the staff who worked on applying for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency grant to do our As You Go program this year, and I believe this year we're focusing on transit for As You Go. I see a thumbs up from interim director, and it's really great. This is a great way to encourage people to try alternative methods of transportation. Item 5 for the reconstruction of Franklin Avenue. Wards 6 and 7 and 10 are very excited for this project, as Franklin right now in its current form is a very dangerous street, difficult to cross. And item 7 on the ordinance related to Upper Harbor Community Performing Arts Center. Happy to co-author this with Councilmember Vita. This is in her ward, and it's going to be great to be able to give that permission consistency for the noise ordinance across the whole concert season. So I will move approval of all of the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Those items are approved. Our next item is discussing the proposed comments on the supplemental final environmental impact statement for the Blue Line LRT extension and authorizing the submittal of those comments to the Met Council. So here to kick off this item is Ratana and Kelsey from Public Works.
Good afternoon, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. My name is Kelsey Fote. I'm a senior transportation planner with the Transportation Planning and Programming Division within Public Works. I am here today to ask the committee to approve comments on the Metro Blue Line Extension's supplemental final environmental impact statement. Here's a quick look at the timeline to bring us to where we are today. So we commented on the supplemental draft environmental impact statement about a year ago now. The city contributed about 300 comments on that, so there were quite a few that were contributed through that period. The city granted municipal consent last fall, and now we're reacting to the supplemental final environmental impact statement, and we have comments here today. A different kind of look at the schedule is showing that there are parallel tracks of work that are underway in addition to the environmental work that we have here before you. The environmental is shown in the top section in the green, so that's the track that we're speaking about today, but there's also work on anti-displacement and engineering and design that's underway and continues to progress through the project as well. A few key changes to call out since the supplemental draft environmental impact statement came through this committee about a year ago. Of course, we passed approved municipal consent. There's been several significant design changes that the project office has incorporated as part of our comments. and as part of community concerns. So we'll go through those in a bit of detail here in a bit. There's also the ongoing work around anti-displacement and community placekeeping. And then with the SFEIS, the major change from the SDEIS to the SFEIS is that there are now mitigation strategies listed in the supplemental final environmental impact statement that were added into the impacts that were noted in the supplemental draft environmental impact statement. There's also some changes to the document to adapt to changing guidelines and executive orders at the federal level. So this is one of the key changes that we saw added into the environmental documentation based on city comments through municipal consent. This is a new station that is included with the project at Washington Avenue and West Broadway, so that's a big change and an exciting change for the city to see a new station added into the project in this location. They also incorporated changes at the Lowry Station in response to many of our comments, to comments from the Park Board and from North Memorial Hospital. The changes here at Lowry Station changed the grade of the station so that the parkway goes under the station and tracks, and Lowry Avenue goes above the station or tracks so that the tracks don't cross either Lowry Avenue or the parkway. So there's separation there, grade separation between the three different corridors. The station itself is still at grade, so it's still easily accessible from the park. There's been some access and circulation changes in the North Loop. The corridors shown on orange on the right are new corridors that don't exist today that will be added as part of the project. This allows for easier access to properties throughout the North Loop. Includes an extension of 3rd Street to 12th Avenue, where there was a cul-de-sac today. It includes a connection of 9th Avenue under the viaduct and 8th Avenue under the viaduct to provide better access in the North Loop. There's also been some changes to the 10th Avenue Transit Mall in reaction to comments received. It has changed from a 3-block section of Transit Mall to a 2-block section of Transit Mall to allow for better vehicular access to properties along 4th Street, including the Salvation Army. There's been a new signal added for pedestrian crossing improvements at Washington and 8th Avenue, and traffic calming and an upgraded bikeway added to the 2nd Street corridor parallel to Washington. So a little bit of zoom in on today's focus about the environmental process. So the supplemental draft environmental impact statement listed out the key impacts and benefits of the proposed project. The final environmental impact statement builds on that and adds mitigation strategies. So there's now mitigation strategies listed in the SFEIS. As we are reviewing this as staff, we were looking at those mitigation strategies to to think about whether those are headed in the right direction with what we would expect, and whether or not they responded to our comments from the SDEIS. And overall, the SFEIS is about 2,700 pages. It's a very large document. There's a lot of content there. We did prepare detailed comments which are attached to your RCA today. There is a comment period that's open currently and closes on June 23rd. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the project office to give a little more detail about what is the content of the SFEIS, and we'll close with our city staff comment overview.
Thank you. I'm Kelsey Young with the Blue Line Extension Project Office. I'm Environmental Manager with Metro Transit. And want to thank you all for the opportunity to give an overview about the findings and mitigation identified within the supplemental final environmental impact statement. Kelsey has covered much of this information already, but just to recap that we are in a supplemental environmental impact statement process due to the changes in the route. And the environmental impact statement process includes an evaluation of social, economic, and environmental impacts and benefits. And so given that we are at the supplemental final environmental impact statement stage, we are now within this document identifying our final understanding of the project's impacts and identifying mitigation. Kelsey already spoke to this a bit, but the city's comments within the supplemental draft environmental impact statement process and municipal consent have been incorporated within the supplemental final environmental impact statement. We have evaluated the updated impacts related to the design updates that we've already spoken to previously in this presentation, and those additional design incorporations following from the municipal consent process and ongoing coordination related to the Lowry Station design. In addition, we've taken in comments from the city related to anti-displacement and community prosperity commitments and incorporated additional information around the project's mitigation related to anti-displacement, and I'll cover that in more detail shortly. The comments that were submitted on the supplemental draft environmental impact statement also outlined ongoing community engagement expectations, and we have been partnering with city staff on continued outreach related to the project. And we will continue to partner with the City of Minneapolis, both on the mitigation strategies and continued design development into that implementation phase and in that parallel design review process. And just want to note that the design basis of the supplemental draft environmental or the supplemental final environmental impact statement is roughly that municipal consent phase with some continued updates at Lowry Station. And there has been ongoing design coordination with the city as we advance towards 60% plans, and there will be that formal coordination with the city related to the 60% plan milestone as well. So more opportunities through that avenue related to more detailed design advancement comments. Related to anti-displacement, I wanted to highlight a set of key mitigation strategies that are connected to social impacts of the project. That includes a community investment fund. The purpose of this is to offset negative impacts to community character through funding community organizations. And so that is an ongoing implementation coordination item that we would want to coordinate with the city as we advance. A business support fund that would, the purpose of that would be to offset lost revenue for businesses directly adjacent to project construction. Additional project realm improvements, particularly in the 21st Avenue corridor. There has been continued outreach around those public realm improvements, and that will continue into final design. In addition, we are in engagement process related to cultural placekeeping and have engaged community members to influence how cultural identities show up in our project design around stations. That is also connected to the anti-displacement work and the Anti-Displacement Community Prosperity Program Board's recommendations. And then lastly, continued workforce development and implementation of a local hiring program during construction. And the purpose of that is to help corridor residents get connected to jobs related to the project, both during construction and in the long term. Now I'll get into each of the topic area impact and benefit summaries a little bit. Related to the community impacts and benefits topic area, we've had continued development of our understanding of property acquisitions, which I'll also touch on. Largely, our understanding of the project's impacts in this topic haven't changed drastically since the supplemental draft environmental impact statement, but we have identified those mitigation measures that I just spoke about. Related to property impacts, within the city of Minneapolis, there are 355 impacted properties identified. Most of those are partial impacts, but we are identifying a number of full acquisitions that would include need for relocating either commercial tenants or business owners, residential property owners or tenants, and then two institutional acquisitions that involve relocation. And we will continue to work to refine those property impacts and minimize where we can throughout final design. But this is an important step in disclosing the property impacts related to the project. And as mitigation, there There are federal requirements around how property owners are to be compensated fairly for their property that the project would be purchasing, as well as regulations related to how people are relocated and how relocation expenses are paid for. Related to noise, we have updated our noise analysis within the project, and we are identifying moderate level noise impacts at 2 churches and 20 residential properties, and then 12 properties that have severe noise impacts. Those are related to the permanent operating phase of the light rail. And for both moderate and severe noise impacts, and moderate and severe is an indication of the degree to which noise levels would change with the project. In terms of our mitigation for noise impacts, we coordinate with those specific affected property owners and tenants where applicable to coordinate about conducting further noise testing. That is ongoing right now over the summer, that property owner coordination. To do that testing where we measure how well the building insulates for noise. And that basis helps us understand if mitigation is warranted, and where mitigation is warranted, we would coordinate with those property owners related to receiver-based mitigation. It's typically things such as replacement windows and doors. Related to vibration, we have also updated our understanding of permanent operating phase vibration impacts and initially identified 2 residential properties where we were identifying vibration impacts, and we have identified track-based mitigation that would address those vibration impacts. Related to business and economic effects, we again don't have substantially new information that's presented in the supplemental final EIS related to this topic area, but we have identified mitigation that I've already touched on related to business support during construction. And this is also a place within the supplemental final EIS where displacement concerns show up. And so that's another connection to the anti-displacement strategies within the project that we are proposing. Related to historic properties, the City of Minneapolis is a consulting party to our Section 106 process. We are identifying 2 historic properties within the City of Minneapolis where adverse effects are identified, and we will continue that coordination with through the consultation process to develop mitigation. Our current focus in conversations with the city representatives and other community representatives is mitigation that is focused on historic interpretation. Related to transportation, as we've already noted, the project has incorporated a number of design adjustments to improve both vehicular and bicycle and pedestrian access and mobility around station areas, and resolving some of those adverse transportation impacts of the project by incorporating those additional design elements, particularly in the North Loop, to resolve those issues through mitigation. And of course, the key benefit of the project is transportation improvement by providing improved transit access. Related to contaminated properties, we've conducted a Phase 2 environmental site assessment for the entire project corridor, and we've identified sites within the project that will need to be managed appropriately as far as contaminated soil and groundwater as part of the project construction. And then related to Section 4F, we have published an updated draft Section 4F evaluation that does present information about all of the park and recreation properties that would be affected by the project. A key one being the Victory Memorial Parkway and Theodore Wirth Parkway Regional Park surrounding the Lowry Station, or where the Lowry Station is located within. And FTA is anticipating a de minimis determination for that park property following the close of the comment period. And we do have upcoming plans to go before the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board related to the Section 4F next steps as well. And then lastly, to highlight our Safety and Security Action Plan. Within the supplemental final environmental impact statement, we do have a section where we discuss our ongoing safety and security next steps. And within that, we highlight all of the broader actions that Metro Transit is ongoing, including expanding the Transit Rider Investment Program and continued partnerships with local law enforcement, as well as expanding other safety-related workforce, including community service officers, and expanding maintenance staff to improve that livability and improved situation for our transit riders. And also just wanted to highlight the recent announcement related to Safe and Strong University Avenue as an example of the type of partnerships that Metro Transit conducts with our partner agencies. And so that type of safety-related planning will continue as we advance with the project and get closer to project implementation. And then on construction impacts for each of these topic areas that I've discussed, we have both a section that talks about the LRT operation, the light rail operation phase, as well as short-term impacts that would be anticipated during construction. And so for each topic area, we identify those coordination needs during construction to coordinate with community members, affected property owners nearby, including on topics such as construction noise and vibration, access, information about detours, and so forth. And so that forms the basis of our next steps of coordination, both with the city and our instructions and requirements for our construction contractors as well. The comments that we received during this comment period will inform the next steps on the Federal Transit Administration side. Their step to conclude the environmental review process is called the amended record of decision. We already have a record of decision from our 2016 phase of the project, so that's why their action is called an amended record of decision. And then on the Minnesota Environmental Policy Act side, the Met Council would conclude the NEPA process or the MEPA process through an adequacy determination. And so the comments that are received inform that finalization of project mitigation and inform those agency decision steps to conclude the environmental review process. And we do respond to comments received during this comment period within the amended record of decision document. And just wanted to highlight the various ways that we are accepting comments. Obviously, as part of the formal City of Minneapolis comment, that's the purpose of this meeting and action here today, or requested action from members of the public and other agencies. We are taking comments either at in-person events, email, or through the postal mail. And then I will turn it back to Kelsey.
I'll talk a little bit about the key themes of the city comments, and then we have my colleague from CPED to also give some more context here. But overall, the comments that we've put together on the supplemental final environmental impact statement acknowledge the significant work that the project office has done in relation to our earlier comments on the SDEIS and the comments that were brought forth during municipal consent. So we appreciate that work that has happened since then. And we note that there's a number of ongoing elements that still require ongoing coordination and more detailed development around mitigation strategies for many of these bulleted points, specifically about noise and vibration, about some of the ped, bike, and vehicle mitigations, utility impacts throughout the corridors, especially around green stormwater infrastructure opportunities, and operations and maintenance agreements along with those. Kelsey noted that there's more to come on construction planning and communication coordination efforts, which will be underway in the future. So overall, our comments acknowledge the significant work that the team has done to respond to the city's comments, and to add on that we look forward to continuing to collaborate to create clear and actionable steps for mitigation measures. And with that, I will hand it to Tana.
Good afternoon, Chair Cashman and council members. My name is Ratana Sangsleejun, and I'm from the Department of Community Planning and Economic Development, where I serve as a principal city planner. I'm here today just to provide you all an overview and snapshot of what the mitigation commitments are as it relates to addressing impacts from the Blue Line Extension project, and then also foreshadow what the community members and public can expect in terms of future engagement to ensure that they can become beneficiaries and benefits from these resources that are being allocated. What you have before you for folks in the public is a table representing really a perspective on how these resources are going to be coming about. The left column represents the Blue Line Extension project, in which the impacts that have been identified within the environmental, that have been identified in the environmental document, which will be delivered within the phase of construction and during an opening day and after opening day. And it's just to acknowledge that some of these wins that have been advocated by the community and project partners includes investments in funds to support residents to stabilize and stay in place in the community, and as well as funds to support small businesses through construction through the years of disruption. While we cannot at this time name how long those disruptions will last, it's going to be that ongoing work as part of the refinement of the construction plans and engineering plans to kind of determine the complexity of work that needs to occur, and working with the future contractors that's going to be the construction work to coordinate with communications and as well as engagement staff to ensure that folks understand and know what resources available to them so that they can receive these resources in a timely manner. Again, as mentioned earlier, opportunities to address the concerns around anti-displacement includes designing of station elements to ensure that they reflect the cultural identity and of the community. So that's an opportunity to ensure that people feel that this investment, that for the folks that are currently here today, feel like it's being constructed and represents the community that's currently here. And as well as continue to work around addressing parking-related concerns around key geographic areas, including Penn and West Broadway. Just want to note that as part of this process, there's a lot of rules and regulations, especially at the federal level, that really defines what kind of resources are available to folks that are going to be displaced due to right-of-way acquisitions that are needed for sidewalks, trees, and boulevards that are coming as part of benefits from the project. So that's all going to be following the Uniform Act. So we're going to continue to collaboratively work with the project office and as well as individual property owners and tenants to ensure that they know what resources are available to them. Want to just call out as I wrap up this slide, on the right side is the work around the Anti-Displacement and Community Prosperity Program Board. This board was established by the Minnesota legislature back in 2024, which establishes this body of community members and government partners to and empowers them to support and fund anti-displacement strategies along this Blue Line Extension project corridor. Some of the priorities that are coming out of that work includes supports and strategies to fund for residents and business to be able to stay in place, but then also around pieces around land ownership and community development, and as well as workforce development. So as part of that $10 million that are being allocated from the state legislature, an RFP, call for RFP for those funds will be made available sometime later this summer. And as we wrap up today's presentation, just want to give folks and the public just upcoming milestones. Again, the public comment period is going to wrap up for June 23rd for this SFEIS. The project office will be publishing publicly 60% engineering plans later this summer, and then as well as the conclusion of the environmental process, which includes the publication of the amended record decision in August. So that concludes staff presentations. City staff and project project office staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for the presentation. If there are any other speakers, any other committee members who have questions, please get in queue. I do have one question, but it's not completely related to these comments. It's just a general question about this project. I'm wondering if you can give us an update with regard to whether any of the funding is being threatened from state or federal levels right now.
Chair Cashman, committee, we are continuing to work with the Federal Transit Administration to queue the project up for the future steps to formally request federal funding through the Capital Investment Grant Program. That grant program is still in place, and the Federal Transit Administration has been, they've been excellent partners to the project and continuing to help the project navigate those federal steps ahead of us.
Okay, thanks. That's really great to hear. Thank you all so much for your work on this, and thanks for the briefings that you held with council members, council offices as well. Seeing no other questions or discussion, I will move this item for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is receiving and filing an update on the city's Resilience Hub work. And here to present is Bharat Balyan, Resilience Hub Project Coordinator.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Cashman and council members of the committee. My name is Bharat Balyan with the Minneapolis Health Department on the sustainability team, and I'm here to provide some background information as well as some updates on the Minneapolis Resilience Hubs. So just to iterate, the goal of this work is to strengthen the resilience of Minneapolis communities, both during times of crisis, but also during daily life. We're already seeing that the climate impacts disproportionately impact our BIPOC communities, low-income communities, and we're seeing that with the poor air quality we're seeing today. That there's a real need for really enhancing the current resilience in our communities to these climate hazards and other potential social disruptions that we may encounter. And so, just for some level setting background, showing the geographical locations of the Resilience Hub cohort that we are currently working with. We have two in South Minneapolis, the first one being Sabathani Community Center in South Minneapolis. We have the Minneapolis American Indian Center. And then the third location is in North Minneapolis. It is more of a resilience corridor along Plymouth Avenue, a few blocks. And we'll actually zoom in a bit to showcase more what exactly that looks like. So we see here two of the key facilities that will be a part of this resilience corridor development. One of them being the Minneapolis Public Schools Nutrition Center. That's where they prepare all the meals for the school district, so it's a large industrial kitchen facility, large warehouse area. But then also there's the Renewable Energy Partners, a local renewable energy business. They have a training center where they provide a lot of green career training opportunities for a community throughout the year. And so this is kind of the area where they'll be looking to develop this resilience corridor along with some other public school buildings and trying to engage with other businesses and organizations across this part of North Minneapolis. And one thing that I want to kind of iterate in terms of the Resilience Hub, like what is the model that we're using for this? We are using the Urban Sustainability Directors Network Resilience Hub model that was developed around 2013, started in the city of Baltimore. And this includes 5 foundational areas, which are programming, resilient design, operations, communication, and resilient power systems. And one important thing to address is that while we really do focus on how do we deal with emergencies and disruptions, it's vital to understand that 95% or more of our time is during our normal steady state blue sky days. So how are we doing programs and operations that on a day-to-day basis where community members are build emergency preparedness capabilities, they get to know each other, have different ways to be more resilient in their own communities dealing with the daily stresses, so that when the 5% of the time of disruption does happen, they're able to bounce forward more quickly, deal with whatever is able to come at them, and resume to that normal steady state much more quickly. And one thing that I really want to emphasize here is that this work really is community-led. This is a very unique partnership. We're working with, nonprofit organizations. We're working with Xcel Energy, our local utility, as well as some other national organizations, also academic institutions to really, bring out this work of really bringing, different partnerships to the table. And the city of Minneapolis, our role is to be more of that coordinating support role. So we're not a top-down approach, rather, what resources can we bring to the table, what different partnerships, potential funding opportunities. So really bringing that support role so that we can really help uplift this work and ensure that the community organizations that community trusts are the ones that are leading this initiative. And so just to give an outline of the timeline of the project so far, it started way back in 2019 when there was trying to understand what a resilience hub could look like in Minneapolis. And this was done through a grant opportunity from the Pew Charitable Trust that was awarded to the Minneapolis Health Department in the Little Earth neighborhood, where there was just some pilot work going on to see, feasibility testing of what a resilience hub could look like, looking at what a microgrid could do in that area. But 2020 happened, and the pandemic clearly was it disrupted those activities. But along this time, Xcel Energy was looking to develop our RFP for this Resilient Minneapolis project after having conversations with the Public Utilities Commission, which this project would be to bring solar and battery storage microgrid systems to historically underinvested communities, communities that have experienced environmental injustices as part of their RFP criteria. And so, throughout this, next couple years, the 3 sites were selected, as I mentioned before. And, this proposal was filed to the Public Utilities Commission, and eventually, through that process, there was a lot of project planning. It started engaging with the different community partners. And during this time, Xcel was able to finalize their $9 million budget approved by the Public Utilities Commission. But also, this is where the city was able to get some extra resources to help with the project, where the de Beaumont Foundation, a small public health philanthropy, was able to provide some grant funding to provide different staffing support, different resources to bring this cross-sector partnership to have it be really successful. And eventually in 2023 is when I started my role, where I was able to bring more added capacity from the city perspective. So being able to, convene the partners together, making sure that we're able to have meetings together, have open lines of communication, transparency between all the entities, as well as seeing what other grant funding we could bring to the table, and other different partnerships that could really enhance this work. And it was towards in 2024 where, a lot of these conversations and meetings to rebuild trust between the partners. This Resilient Minneapolis project was approved by the Public Utilities Commission in August of 2024. And at this time, Xcel also received a grant from the Department of Energy to help supplement the work, as costs for the project did increase over time. And then zooming in further as momentum had built for the work, community engagement did start in summer of 2024 through a grant from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And majority of these funds were actually distributed to our community partners, so they were able to, be paid to actually do the work, build those connections of educating the community about what resilience hubs are, visioning what a resilience hub could do for their communities, and addressing the concerns they may have of, climate hazards and other sort of disruptions. And at the same time, there was some funding for my position to continue from the Minnesota Department of Health and the Response Sustainability Grant. And then looking forward, later in 2024, the EPA Community Change Grant Program, Sabathani and the American Indian Center were awarded a $10 million grant to both support solar array installation as well as the geothermal project that Sabathani is embarking on as part of their greater kind of energy transformation goals. But as we know, in 2025, we started seeing, disruptions in these different funding streams with cancellations, as well as things being held up in legal proceedings. Thankfully, a lot of those EPA grant dollars were able to be drawn down by our community partners with a little bit of leftover. But a lot of other Inflation Reduction Act era climate funding opportunities were canceled, including one that multiple of our partners, including the city, applied for. And also another grant that Hennepin County was planning on helping support the Resilience Hub work that was ultimately not signed and wasn't able to move forward. But despite that, we were able to continue, microgrid design, engineering work, and the planning process, by having monthly meetings coordinated with Excel, myself, and the Resilience Hub partners, where engineering design is moving forward, everything is going well, and that DOE grant still has not been affected so far by the federal changes. And we've also, during this time, applied for different funding opportunities from different philanthropies, and the Green Cost Share program was able to award a significant amount of dollars to the Sabathany solar array for the microgrid project. And looking forward, we're hoping to really, start engaging our emergency preparedness team at the health department to do emergency scenario planning at each resilience hub, as well as, trying to find extra funding to figure out how can we engage our community members to be more actively involved in these processes. And looking into 2026 and further, we're hoping to have these resilience hubs be fully operational with these microgrids, so having those backup power systems. They're projected to be completed in summer of 2026. And ideally, having that foundation built, being able to expand the Resilience Hub network to other organizations that may be interested in developing in our resilience hubs. And this slide here just kind of captures the different funding I talked about in the previous slide. So it's, good reference point for you to take a look at it a future time, but I will not be diving further into the slide. And, one important thing as we kind of think about, as we're setting the foundation for this first cohort of resilience hubs is that just from my role, I've been talking to different organizations and community members that have expressed interest in the resilience hub model after, hearing about it through the, different community members and the engagement events. And you can see on the right, there's a few different organizations that have reached out and have starting to actually try to find their own funding to really get this resilience hub model off the ground for their respective organizations. And we're really hoping to, once we develop some more resources and lessons learned from our process, to share that with others and help jumpstart other organizations to do the same process. And ideally, integrating everybody together so that we have a network where we're working together to deal with the climate impacts and improve social connectedness and, building those partnerships at an even deeper level. And so just looking at what's next, we are hoping to really build upon the community engagement that has been happening over the past year, trying to support the existing work and seeing how can we bring community members to be a direct active role in the resilience hub planning and, figuring out what is most important to them. Also development of a City of Minneapolis webpage. We're working with our comms team at the health department to get that off the ground, to bring different resources and more awareness for anybody that's interested in the work. And also continue to seek out funding, trying to shift to more philanthropic and foundation funding sources since we're seeing the shift in the federal landscape. And, with the ideal vision of, starting our emergency scenario planning at each resilience hub to understand what do they want to be able to deal with, enhancing their staffing capacity so that once these plans are built out, they can actually execute them effectively. And again, trying to build out that resilience hub network so that these type of localized resilience opportunities can be found in any neighborhood where anybody may be residing across our city. And I'll just be closing here with showing some visuals of the different community engagement opportunities that have been happening. Very intergenerational, different media platforms. Trying to really engage our different aspects, different parts of our community so that we can really get a robust sense of what different pockets of our community are looking for as part of this work. And that concludes my presentation, and I can stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. I had definitely been looking forward to this for a while after getting a lot of questions from both staff members and community members about what is a resilience hub, what does resilience really look like. And I think it's a little bit clearer now, although I can imagine that this is probably a lot more clear on the ground in person at these facilities. And I'm just wondering what kind of access the community has to these buildings. Are they all publicly open at all times? How can we access, as community members, the resources of these hubs?
Yeah, of course, Chair Cashman and council members, we currently are still trying to develop these plans to see, you know, what capabilities, like during emergency hours, like what that may look like. So, you know, those are still to be determined. At this time, they're not exactly functioning in like an emergency response role. We still need to develop that, hopefully starting this year with our emergency preparedness team as well as the emergency management department here at the city. And then especially with the North Minneapolis corridor, there's several buildings involved, so there's going to be a lot more groundwork with the community engagement, again, and working with our teams in the health department and emergency management to really understand, you know, what capabilities are they going to be and what extra resources do we need to bring to the table so that, let's say during an extreme, you know, heat event, like what hours can these places be open to maybe serve as like cooling centers and providing different resources to the communities that are most salient to them based on what we hear from engagement. So still something that we're developing.
Okay, we do have other buildings in the city that are emergency locations in
Right.
the event of extreme heat or extreme cold as well. Are you collaborating with those buildings too to kind of bring them under the Resilience Hub umbrella?
Yeah, it's yes, Chair Cashman, that is something, again, as part of the process. We're going to see how it kind of fits into the current, you know, emergency management systems that we have built in place. So, you know, again, those are more like city, you know, run kind of the top down. With the Resilience Hub model, it's more, these community organizations will have more agency to like kind of activate on their own and not need to pull in the city, you know, staff necessarily, unless that's part of their agreement that they would like to do that. So, again, that will be part of our process as we start diving into the emergency planning process.
Okay, yeah, I went on a wellness walk last week with the health commissioner and staff and went through the convention center, which is one of those, you know, city-owned emergency locations in Ward 7 at least. And I think it would be great for our community members to know about these locations and to actually feel like they can go to them in emergencies. For example, last Tuesday, we had 2 compounding crises in one day, and I would think that resilience hubs would be part of that location where if there's air quality crisis and like federal law enforcement crisis happening on the same day and a lot of people are outside and needing resources, you know, how can we make sure that our emergency management department and all of the city departments are directing residents to these places where they can go to be safe?
Yeah, absolutely.
What unique like equipment do each of these sites have?
Yeah, Chair Cashman, currently the unique equipment that will be installed is, again, those microgrid systems where they will be able to provide backup power in the event of a power outage. Those will be installed by summer of 2026. That's the current plan with how the project is moving forward. In terms of other sort of unique equipment, I know Sabathany is planning on, you know, embarking on their geothermal system to provide, you know, pure electrification in terms of their HVAC systems. But I think in terms of like any other sort of special like emergency, you know, response equipment, I think that's something that as we do this emergency planning process with each of the organizations, we'll kind of understand and figure out what special equipment needs they may have, and then figure out what funding sources may be available to provide those type of resources.
Okay, thanks. And then I think my last question is how could other such facilities in our communities that do have these, you know, unique types of equipment and capabilities, how could they become part of the Resilience Hub program? For example, the Rise Up Center is opening up a clean workforce training center in Uptown. Also, the Bakken Museum, which is also in my ward, is a facility that has a lot of the capability to be a place that neighbors can go in the event of emergency, and they are looking for city support to be able to, you know, give access to community members. So how could they become part of the Resilience Hub framework?
Yes, Chair Cashman, in terms of kind of building out this Resilience Hub framework and network, I'm actually currently in early conversations with some other partners across the metro area that have expressed interest in Resilience Hub building and are currently doing it. So one of them being the University of Minnesota Climate Adaptation Partnership, Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, We're hoping to develop a community of practice where we can figure out what our strategic vision is for like bringing people together that want to develop resilience hubs, and where we can find a common place to meet on a regular basis and find out, really building out this resilience network, not only in Minneapolis, but across our metro area. We plan on, once that is developed, we would like to invite different organizations that want to become resilience hubs kind of to this community of practice to really build out and understand, who's doing what, who's out there, and then trying to coordinate resources where we can, help with grant funding potentially or different partnership building. So there's no current formal process yet, but we're hoping to develop that, as well as once these current 3 resilience hubs continue to develop, sharing that foundation so that others can kind of take that and apply it to their specific organizations.
Yeah, I can understand that this has been sort of a challenge with the fickle funding streams that you've had, IRA funds, and then also Excel, pulling back those funds a couple years ago. Did I read correctly in the file that the Great Lakes environmental justice money is now gone? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, Chair Cashman, that is correct. It's currently not officially canceled, but it seems based on what the legal expert is saying that it's probably not going to be coming through. And we do know that Sabathani Community Center was probably going to be receiving an award, but their communications from the Minneapolis Foundation staff have been more on the negative side. So definitely a big loss to see that, these funds that can really help accelerate the project have just kind of been, falling away, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, and I just want you to know you have my support and this committee's support to see how we can continue to build out this program that I think is really important for our communities, and not just in those 3 areas, which are important, but citywide, so that every neighborhood can have a place to go in an emergency. Any other questions from committee members? All right, thank you so much. We'll ask the clerk to file that report. And then our final item today is receiving and filing a report on the end of season for the 2024 to 25 sidewalk snow and ice pilots. And welcome Ethan, project coordinator for this pilot.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. My name is Ethan Van Offlen. I am the Sidewalk Snow and Ice Pilot Coordinator for Public Works, and I'm here today to give an update regarding those pilots and the what we accomplished over our first season. In this presentation, I'll give a quick overview of Sidewalk Snow and Ice policy in Minneapolis, an overview of what the snow and ice pilot programs were, a look at what we accomplished during this first season, a quick overview of the costs, some of the takeaways we had from this projects, and a chance to give a special thanks to the people that made this work possible. Quick background on sidewalk snow and ice. In Minneapolis, it is the property owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalk adjacent to their property. Single-family homes and duplexes have 24 hours following snowfall, while other types of properties have 4 daytime hours once snowfall ends. The enforcement for this goes through our 3-on-1 system. Letters are sent to property owners. Our sidewalk inspection staff goes out, and then it goes to a city-hired contractor. Just make a note that in 2023, we changed kind of the pricing plan for that contracted snow removal through our hired contractor. Residential properties are cheaper than they used to be, and commercial properties take on a little bit more of the cost burden. We also run proactive sidewalk inspections. This involves city staff going out and essentially taking a sample size every year in select areas of the city so that we know year over year how we are doing. It looks like about 96% of properties comply with ordinance. This year we had about 98%. Granted, it was a smaller sample size than normal. Yeah, we also have been evaluating the effectiveness of our snow clearing citywide and laying forth potential improvements, which are reflected in our winter walking and biking study, as well as our transportation action plan. Just want to point out that these pilots presented today help accomplish some of the goals put forth in those studies and a piece of the puzzle of us improving our pedestrian access in the winter and getting people on public transit. 4 pilots were included over this last season: the senior snow clearing pilot, the snow ambassador pilot, the mobile team pilot, and the snow caseworker pilot. Quick look at the timeline. In 2023, these pilots were approved. We began outreach in the fall to neighborhood orgs to get them into our senior snow clearing pilot. We hired the sidewalk snow and ice pilot coordinator, myself, and got temporary employees to fulfill the snow ambassador pilot. One of my favorite events of the season, I'm just pointing it out here, was the Community Connections Conference. Great time tabling there. We wrapped up the pilots in April. The last snowfall was March 6th. We were available for clearing into early April. Into the pilots, starting with the senior snow clearing pilot. This pilot was done in partnership with NCR. We provides grants to neighborhood organizations for them to lead programs that assist seniors and others in need of snow clearing and support in the community. This year we had 4 participating neighborhood orgs. That was the Weber Camden Neighborhood Org, McKinley Community, Northside Residents Redevelopment Council, or NERC, and Stevens Square Community Org. There was an application process in the fall and an initial outreach done by NCR. What we accomplished. So we had 4 distinct programs covering 5 neighborhoods. Each community org has its own kind of setup and staff available. Each pilot was geared towards helping seniors and other just needs in the community with clearing. I'll point out Stevens Square had a more unique one where they did walking along the community and making sure kind of block by block was clear in select corridors. Over the course of the 6 snow events for this year, we had 259 reported clearings done by the neighborhoods. This was primarily taken up by about 34 routine site visits to seniors and people with disability challenges, as well as kind of vacant lots, some of the community buildings, and some other sites near the neighborhood. This also employed local and community members, and was a chance for high school students to get part-time work during the year. Just a lot of great work done by these neighborhoods. Really happy working with them. I'll highlight that they did a great job responding to snow events. People were really eager to get out there, and I think through the year we had a perfect kind of within 24 hours they were getting out there. So really thankful for them for mobilizing the team together. Moving on to our snow ambassador pilot. This pilot involved city staff clearing uncleared sidewalks along the pedestrian priority network. After 24 hours after snowfall ended, our crews would go out, clear sidewalks that were not in accordance with ordinance, and we would attempt to speak to residents and leave door hangers about sidewalk clearing rules when possible. Over the course of the pilot, we routinely monitored 66 miles worth of sidewalk. This made up 33 miles of our pedestrian priority network. We kind of divided it in 3 areas for data collection purposes. Over the 6 snow events, we visited or treated 534 unique addresses. It's kind of a breakdown. I put in a table here. 241 of those we were able to get to full bare pavement, 4 feet wide of sidewalk. 229 were 2-packed down by the time we got there for us to do a full clearing. So we cleared it as well as we could, sand and salted. And 60 were a certain property type we sent along to 301 for our sidewalk contractor to clear. This program consisted of 4 city staff members, kind of a 2 crews of 2 going out and performing this work. Next, our mobile team pilot. Through this pilot, residents could request help with their public sidewalk snow clearing through 301. In this last season, the snow ambassador staff was used to do the clearings for this program. Accomplishments for this pilot: by the end of the program, we had 23 residents signed up for the service. We generally split 1 crew up going up north and clearing, 1 crew going south, and we were able to get to all those residents within a day. We likely could have handled 30 or 35 through our staffing. Over the course of the pilot, we did 109 site clearings or visits. About 25% of the time, the site had already been cleared by kind of good neighbors. Also highlight our staff was willing to come in over weekends. We had several snowfalls on Friday, Saturday this year, and us coming in on the weekends allowed us to get this done in a timely manner and then moved on to our snow ambassador work. Finally, our snow caseworker pilot. The objectives of the snow caseworker pilot were to collect qualitative data, to better identify and understand barriers of sidewalk clearing, direct outreach and education to residents about sidewalk clearing, connect residents with existing clearing resources, and serve as a resource for renters experiencing inadequate service. Also had the responsibilities of this pilot were being fulfilled by the Snow and Ice Pilot Coordinator, which included working to implement and coordinate the work of the other 3 pilot programs. Some general accomplishments. We developed a new 3-on-1 request type for citizens to request snow and ice clearing help. We changed the letter we typically send to a postcard that goes out to every address, informing properties of the snow and ice clearing rules. It's kind of easier to read and can be hanged on a fridge for future reference. We presented information on the pilots to the Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities, the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, tabled at the Community Connections Conference, and Christina Kendrick shared information on these pilots to the Committee on Aging as well. Then just work related to the other 3 pilots as well. Ongoing this summer, we'll be doing some data analysis regarding our history of violation data so as to make some plans and communications ready for sending out to properties that are known repeat offenders, looking at where we know bus stops aren't being cleared, and kind of making a plan for vacant properties. Just look at what was total what was done this year. Over the course of all pilots, we addressed 902 addresses through the 6 snow events, and we treated or cleared 17.3 miles worth of sidewalk. I'll note that this was 6 snow events. We typically expect 10 to 15 snow events, and we had 24.5 inches of snow, and average is about 54 inches. Just a quick look at costs over the course of all the pilots in total. For the winter, we spent around $230,000, not including some of the off-season costs that we have. If it had been an average winter, we'd expect around $285,000 spent with an extra month of snow ambassadors and twice as much going to our senior snow clearing team as they get paid kind of by a snow event. Quick look at some things learned and takeaways from the season. Senior snow clearing pilot capacity of program may not match the need for assistance in the neighborhood. What I mean by that is one neighborhood was hoping for a few more seniors in the neighborhood to be on. We were able to kind of supplement work with other needs like vacant properties in that neighborhood. Another neighborhood org had kind of too many requests than they can handle, and we fulfilled those requests with our mobile team at times. Our snow ambassador pilot, we learned that our team could monitor about 15 miles of sidewalk per day using this method, and that after 3 or 4 days, the sidewalk becomes very packed down and icy, making clearing difficult. Our mobile team pilot, just not guaranteed that availability is, there will be availability on weekends. It might be a reason to explore using a hired contractor in the future. And finally, just we sent a survey to residents following that survey on how their service was. Just got really positive feedback from residents in that. I'd like to read a few of the responses we got back from people participating. As an older person, I've so appreciated the sidewalk snow removal services that the city has provided to some of us seniors this past winter. I'm the one that calls and cries you every time just to say thanks for the snow removal services, which she definitely did, and I was very happy to answer those calls. This program was a lifesaver for my wife and I this year. We appreciate the promptness of the employees and how great our sidewalks were cleared. And next, thank you so much. I appreciate this public service and think it's very valuable and necessary. Just as coordinator, I was very honored to get to service residents of Minneapolis in this way this last year. Towards the conclusion here, I just want to take a moment to thank the people that made this year possible. Steve Gallagher and Bob Cooper and NCR. The senior snow clearing pilot could not have happened with them. I know Steve is in the audience. Just thank you for all your work and help this year. From McKinley Community, Sharon Alamein and her team were fantastic to work with. Adam Schneider and his team from Stephen Square. Adam's here today. Thank you, Adam, for being here and all the work you did this year. Marco Cruz and his team at Weber Camden, and Martina Gale Smaller and their team at NERC. Our Snow Ambassador team, Linda Page, Jasmine Taple, Dylan Diddy, and Alfonso Castillo, all excellent to work with. And finally, our Public Works leadership staff, Tim Sexton, Brian Dodds, Jennifer Swanson, Don Elwood, Joe Paulman, Steve Collin, Derek Lofgren, Aaron Johnson, and Steve Hoyam all provided guidance throughout the year and were extremely helpful for me getting these pilots going. That is all I have today. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. Our stuff is away for the summer and excited to get back to it next year. Thank you all for listening and happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thanks. I hope you have some great summer plans, vacation plans. No, actually, in all honesty, what will be your plan for the summer? Are you going to be working on another project?
Great question. So I came from our right-of-way management division. I've been overseeing our ADA ped ramp collection for a number of years, helping our sidewalk team with a lot of things. There's some work related to this, but I stay very busy with kind of more ADA things we have going on in our radar in Public Works.
Certainly. There's a lot of good projects happening in the summer, too. Any questions from committee members? Yes, Councilmember Osman.
The pilot, oh, sir, I'm here. The pilot program, was that for 1 year, the cost of $230,000?
That was over the winter, so kind
Over
of
the winter.
December snowfall when it started to April when we wrapped up and got the payments out to neighborhoods.
Would you say this year we had more snow, less snow, okay snow? Or?
About half the snow of average. This is the first year doing it, so
Okay.
yeah.
And also the $230,000 cost, is that the entire program, including the hiring new staff and so on, or is it just specifically to program? I'm trying to figure out the
Kind of
cost.
all 4 pilots.
All
What
4
was spent
pilots.
on all of them.
Or for pilots, okay. Sounds great. I think it's great that we're trying this. We're trying to figure out which program works the best. I definitely like the idea of priority sidewalks being cleared, and also the seniors, of course, working with the neighborhood organization is making that option, having that option to call and able to get their sites clear. So it's a good program. I think we can kind of go through it and figure out which one works the best and hopefully plan on through that.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, and thank you so much for your presentation and your work on this first year of the pilot. And I'm grateful that we got some actual snow this last year, so it could happen. My first question is, just to clarify, this will be continuing, the pilot will be continuing into next year's snow season as well?
Chair, Councilmember Chowdhury, yes, the extent of which I don't think is finalized. Yeah, but I know neighborhoods definitely continuing with that. I think there's some outstanding questions with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to kind of know before the snow season what kind of the plans are in terms of how resources are going to be used. I don't know if there's any internal discussion about shifting resources to different pilot programs or kind of keeping things as is. Do you know?
I'll let Tim take this one, I think.
Director?
Yeah, thank you, Chair and Councilmember. We are having those discussions about the appropriate budget amount. I think Ethan's data suggested that some of these pilots were really cost effective and really appreciated by the community. So we are looking at that. We also noticed that what we are able to accomplish with $230,000 was pretty substantial and effective. And so there may be a way to do this at a lower cost amount than the full $600,000 that was allocated in the budget.
Great, that's helpful. And I think the thing to keep in mind too, in terms of piloting, like this is our first year of data, and I would really be curious to see how an additional year lines up with this year as the program itself becomes more visible to the community. One of the things that I'm interested in exploring and seeing is how other neighborhood organizations can get involved, especially in parts of the city that have like a high density of seniors. I know that there's a very high density on the north side, but I didn't notice any neighborhood organizations kind of join in that I know, like on the south side of Minneapolis, there's a lot of seniors. And so is there a plan to kind of open up to see if other neighborhood associations might want to be putting their hat in the ring to participate in the senior snow clearing pilot this year?
Councilmember Chowdhury, yes, we have had interest from other neighborhoods throughout. I know there's some neighborhoods in the south that were reached out to that have kind of an existing volunteer program. And any way we can reconnect with them and see if we can provide them more resources, something we'll be looking to do.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I would love to partner on that conversation. And I just was really, really impressed to see like all of the different places within our city that there was a type of service delivered. And thank you so much for reading those constituent accounts. Like, that was wonderful to hear. And like, I can see that you're just kind of beaming when you got to read them and just think about that, because that's what the impact is. I actually had a constituent yesterday come to my office hours, and he is a senior, he's on a fixed income, and he no longer can afford the snow clearing program that he was using before, or the service that he was using before, because the cost of living has just gone up so much in this last calendar year. Like, it was already tight last year. And so he told me, he's like, I really need help this next snow season because I am disabled. Like, I have to carry an oxygen tank around wherever I'm going. And a few times, just to save on cost, I shoveled the snow myself. And my doctor told me that I should not do that. And so he's someone, alongside other constituents, that I'm sure he kind of represents a similar story, that I want to get connected into this program. And lucky for him, and coincidentally, his house is also on the pedestrian priority network. So just really grateful for this first year of work. I hope that we have a regular amount of snow next year, just for the sake of our collective climate anxiety, and also just who we are as a state, and for this program to get more data and just help our constituents.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. I just have a couple questions as well, Ethan. So, and Director, you said that a total of 600 was budgeted for this, and then around 230,000 actually went towards the program. So the other piece of that, what did it go for, or what has it not been spent?
Yeah, Chair Cashman, we'll have to follow up with you on that piece of it. But yeah, I think there was a couple of reasons for that. I don't know if Ethan wants to share anything more about sort of like, I think we were prepared to spend some more in a few of those areas, and there just maybe wasn't the awareness about like some of those programs that were available. But we'll have to follow up on the specifics of that funding question.
Okay, is that already in LIMS, or should I request like a staff memo on that? Is it already available somewhere publicly, that information?
Chair Cashman, I don't know for sure, but we'll be happy to follow up with you about that information. Yeah, so whether or not it's included, I'd maybe look to the clerks or others to confirm.
Thanks. No, I see that there's a related file in the LIMS, but it's earlier. It's from years past, so it probably doesn't have this level of detail. So I'll just ask Kendall to note a follow-up on the full amount that was budgeted for this program, and what are the plans to spend the remainder of it. And then I would also ask, and I'm not sure if you know off the top of your heads, like, what do we spend on plowing the streets annually? Because I think for our residents, this is kind of the trade-off that they're I know we spend a lot of money on clearing our streets for vehicles, for cars and buses and everything. And I think we'll see that like it's actually a marginal cost to do sidewalk clearing as well, and that with so many people who actually use the sidewalks to get around, that it could be worth making this investment. But I would just like to have that information. Is that something that you know off the top of your head?
Chair Cashman, we'll have to follow up with you on that one. And it does vary by year, but I think we could probably share some recent examples of those costs.
Okay, thanks. I'll note that one for Kendall too. Was that clear? The question?
Madam Chair, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. So the question is about what in the past couple of years have been our costs with clearing snow from roads, snow plowing. And then I think my final question for you was then, I saw in your presentation that you did outreach with Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the community, you did the Community Connections Conference, and you gave a presentation to the Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities. I'm wondering if you did any outreach to the Committee on Aging, Advisory Committee on Aging.
I was, Chair Cashman, I was in talks with Christina Kendricks. I shared information with her, and she shared that information with the Committee on Aging early in the season.
Okay. Did you have any key takeaways from the feedback that you got from any of these advisory groups?
Chair Cashman, that is a good question. For the most part, they were just really excited to see them happen.
Yeah.
It was very positive from my presentations on, they're looking forward to seeing these results from this year and what we do forward.
Mm-hmm. And from your perspective of the 3 pilots, which one is the most successful and impactful?
Chair Cashman, it's a hard question to answer because they both achieve kind of on different values that we have in the city. They're all impactful in their own way. I'll say it was the most fun working with kind of the neighborhood orgs and very excited by the work they were doing.
Okay. Any other committee members? Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. And just reading the budget amendment that was authored in 2023 by Councilmember Wansley, Council Vice President Chugtai, and Councilmember Osman, it was a $595,000 ongoing budget amendment. At least that's what I'm reading. So that's that's the funding that was allocated for this program. Just to answer your question, but we'll probably get a follow-up through staff here as well. And just want to say thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited about this. It is an incredible program, and I really appreciate you sharing some of the stories from the folks that were able to get some support from the city through this program. I think that is really helpful. And I guess for me, and this is not directed to you, but just maybe Director Tim Sexton, I think this program obviously, in my opinion, can grow a lot more. And I think the funding that council allocated in 2023 of $595,000, it feels like we can work with many more neighborhoods to make sure that we can get this program in different neighborhoods across the city, making sure that more people can benefit from this program. So I guess my only comment is thank you for your work along with our staff, public works staff here and NCR for making this happen. And also it looks like there is room for us to work with a lot more neighborhoods now that the first year was completed and it looks like it was successful, to make sure that this can even go in other places in our city that don't have it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Seeing no other members in queue, we'll ask the clerk to file that report. Thank you so much. And with that, we've concluded all business. So without objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you.